Hello everyone, welcome to this new seminar, Yugi Product Review. Here with us is Tracy Isbell. She is manager, sales, regional sales manager. Tracy, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning?
I think they are so fine this morning, Tracy. Tracy, and now can you share your screen, your presentation, please?
Hmm.
So we are ready to start. Now I can see it.
Just a moment. All right. There
So
we go.
the
Full
control is
screen
yours,
now?
Tracy. Yeah, full screen.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate y'all's time this morning. Just a quick little note about myself. I have been in the industry for 31 years. First 29 of that were on the dealer side. So I have a little bit of knowledge from a good variety of aspects when it comes to the security industry. Last role that I held on the dealer side was director of operations for the state of Texas. So from the dealers you deal with, the people, some of their situations and scenarios. Thankfully, I have been in the industry long enough. I've seen them. So sometimes when you have those situations, I can help you out there. Now, a little bit about 2GIG and NICE. This particular picture you're seeing right now is actually our home office in Italy, and they're in Nice. So that is part of why when they came to America, we are called NICE. Part of our product line is that we have 9 different brands that fall underneath the 2GIG and NICE company. The one you're probably most familiar with, obviously, is going to be the 2GIG. We also have linear access. We have high security, speakers, home automation. There's quite an abundance of varying products. So depending on what the customer need is, we probably have a solution for them. So if you have any questions in regards to different things like that, let me know and I can make sure that I connect you with one of my counterparts if it's not a brand that I cover. The next thing I'm going to show you is a little bit about the panels that we've had over the years. Obviously, the GC2 was the first panel that was put out by 2GIG. At the time it was designed, Lance and his partner Simon actually worked at Honeywell. They thought it would be a good idea to branch off from their standard hardwire and create a wireless panel. Unfortunately, Honeywell did not agree. So Lance and his partner actually took the product back to Lance's house. And the 2GIG stands for Two Guys in a Garage. So if you didn't know that, now you know a little fun story behind it. Good thing that also comes from that is that not only are you able to connect with our sensors, but you can also use any Honeywell 5800 series sensor. It is also compatible with the 2GIG line. Next to that, you're going to see the GC2E, which is the version 2 of the GC2 panel. It came out in 2019 and it is now about to get a new facelift. It's going to get an upgrade to it as well, and I'll show you that here in just a little bit. And then you see the GC3 panels that are on the top right. Those 2 panels have actually been discontinued. You'll notice that we pulled those out of market in 2021, which is the same time that we launched the Edge panel, which is also on the market. The Edge panel is also going to be getting a facelift soon. There will be a new one that goes to beta testing later this year and will launch probably summertime next year, depending on how long the beta takes. But we're excited that we have new panels and new products coming out. I know that's going to be a good thing for the dealers and the various distribution partners when it comes to inventory. Any questions about those panels? Okay.
I don't see any questions, Tracy.
Okay. Let me see. So right now, as I said, these are the two panels that are currently on the market, GC2E and the Edge. We will briefly go over from a back-end user, just kind of the flow of communication. The panel is actually going to be what sends a signal. That signal is going to go up to a back-end application. In this case, I'm showing you alarm.com. The Edge panel is also compatible with Control4. So if a user has a preference, there are a couple of options for them. Once that signal is sent up to the backend platform, simultaneously, it will come down not only to the end user, but also to the monitoring center. And then based off what type of signal they are given is whether or not it'll be a contact to your end user, whether it will be dispatched to an EMS service. Examples of that would be if it's just a low battery, that's going to go just to the end user and the monitoring center is not going to need to do any additional action. If it were a life safety device, a burglar alarm, something of that caliber, then that would be where the monitoring center would get involved and dispatch EMS and go down a call list. That's just more for information in case anybody didn't know how it all worked. Now what I'm going to show you is the GC2E. Going to go over a couple features that are different in this from the Edge panel. Primarily, you're going to look at a smaller number of zones. In this case, the GC2E has 60 wireless zones and it has one hardwire zone. It will do 8 key fobs. In the event somebody actually uses them, normally when I see key fobs in this particular setting, is when you have somebody that may be like a dog sitter, somebody who comes in and cleans the house. Normally it's somebody who is not going to be part of the primary residence and they want them to just have temporary access. You'll also notice that on the GC2, you can add up to 4 secondary keypads, and they can be a mix and match of various ones that we have in the product catalog. The other difference on this one is you're going to have 64 programmable user codes for the panel. Now, some of the other things that you're going to see on here are similar to the features that are on the Edge. So I'm going to show you the Edge, which is most of the panels that are out in the industry right now. I would say 60% of them are the Edge, 40% are going to be the GC2. So depending on your dealer, some of them will do a better best option. So you have the GC2 as the starting, and then they'll upgrade to the Edge. The biggest differences in the Edge are going to be it has 100 wireless zones. It has 2 hardwire zones. It'll also take up to 32 key fobs. And then you will notice that the Edge panel will take 8 secondary keypads. The secondary keypads on the Edge look exactly like the primary panel. The only difference is going to be there's not a USB port on the very top. The reason there is not a USB port is because all programming has to be done through the primary panel. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions?
Makes sense to me, Trish.
All right, perfect. Other features that are in the Edge panel that are not in the GC2 is there is a built-in glass break on the Edge. It is activated when the alarm is in away mode, and it is a 15-foot line of sight. So basically what that means is line of sight is it looks forward. So whatever you're wanting it to protect, it needs to be in front of the keypad, not on the same wall. The other thing you will notice is our panel has facial recognition. The facial recognition is the only one in the industry. Basically, it is you're giving the camera kind of a side eye to arm and disarm it. And then it will take a snapshot of the background. So that'll give you kind of a view of what's there, what isn't there. And that is also a changeable feature by the end user. They can decide to activate it or deactivate it as they see fit. Next thing we have on the panel is going to be a Bluetooth disarming. Ours works in 2 different ways. Standard Bluetooth disarming on most panels is you have to be in the geofence area for it to disarm. Ours is the same, except we added an additional feature where you also have to walk through an entry exit door. So we wanted to add that extra layer of protection so that you can't accidentally disarm it. The things that you'll see that are similar on both panels are going to be that they have a Z-Wave Plus capability. They'll take up to 232 Z-Wave devices, and then they will both handle standard 345 sensors, encrypted 345 sensors, and the Honeywell 5800 series. The Edge will also take an additional sensor that we offer, which is the E+, which is our long-range sensors. And then both panels, you can do over-the-air updates. You can do it through the USB port, or you can do it through the Tech Mobile app from alarm.com. The Edge also does have 4 smart areas, which are also known as partitions. You can set those up for various users and what they have access to based off programming at the time. And if you choose not to use any of the smart areas, then everything just stays on partition 1. The last difference between the two is that the GC2 has a tradable cell card and the Edge has an actual built-in cell card. All right. Any questions on the panels before I move to the sensors?
Let me check. No, Tracy, we don't have it.
Okay, wonderful. So real quickly, I will show you the ecosystem for the 2 gig. Obviously, we talked about the 345 sensors. We talked about the long range 900 series. I will show you Z-Wave very quickly. They are anything that is 908 megahertz, which is pretty much anything in the last 10 years. The other thing I will tell you is that we are compatible with the alarm.com cameras and then any hardwire OnViv S, as in Sam, series cameras. And then you'll notice lastly on the Edge that it is dual path communication. So that gives you not only the customer's cellular and Wi-Fi, but it also works with their router. Whichever signal is stronger is where it's going to pull from. This is just a quick little snapshot for you to see what the facial recognition looks like. The other thing that I will let you know about that is that the biometric images that are taken never actually leave the panel. They're actually stored on the panel. And if it is ever taken out of service or returned, then that part of the panel is actually locked out, even from us as the manufacturer. So those images are secured for your end user. Next, I'm going to talk about the live view cameras. When you're looking at either alarm.com or the OnViv S series, on the Edge panel, you can stream up to 8 live cameras. So that'll be the first 8 that you have in the system. Depending on how they're named, you can choose which ones you want to actually load into that live view. If you happen to have secondary keypads on the Edge, there are built-in onboard cameras that you can see into different rooms between the 2 cameras. Those are completely separate from the live view cameras. So fortunately, that gives you 2 different options on ways you can view cameras. The onboard cameras only work at the site. They don't actually go up to alarm.com. All right, now let's discuss the sensors. First sheet I'm going to show you is going to be your primary sensors. These are the ones that are going to be used most often. Top 2 on the left are 2 varying kinds of door window contacts. The rectangle one is typically what you're going to see after the home has already been built and they're adding in a system. And then the barrel looking one to the right of that is typically done within construction. They'll drill into the trim and then they'll drop the contact and magnet into the frame. Next to that on the top, you have a tilt sensor. Typically, these are installed on overhead doors. They are looking for a 45-degree angle before they send a notification to let you know the device is open. The last one on the top is going to be your motion detector. Standard motion detector is up to a 55-pound Petamune. Does have a local walk test mode that is built into it, and it has a 50 by 50 range as far as the beams. In the event you ever need to do a local walk test, you can actually, there's a small triangle on the side of the motion. You can rub any kind of standard magnet next to it. It'll make a red light come on the device. And then at that point, you know it's putting it into test mode for up to 3 minutes so that you can walk test it to various places in the room. And then after that 3 minutes, it will automatically go back into standard programming. So you don't have to worry about it causing false alarms or sending signals to the monitoring center while it's in that specific test mode. Comes in handy when technicians are trying to space out a big room and they're the only one on site. All right, so sensors on the bottom. Glass break is looking for a specific sound and pitch when glass is actually broken. I will tell you that if there are certain environmental things that any glass detector may have an issue with, one of those is going to be plexiglass. So if it is not true glass, it's obviously not going to shatter the same way and it's not going to affect the device. So just keep in mind when you're trying to place one of those, take a look at the environment, make sure it's not plexiglass, make sure it also, sometimes there is a safety vinyl that they will put on windows that will keep them from shattering. Instead, they will spider web. Obviously, because the glass is not breaking, it's not going to make that sound. So just be cautious of that when you're placing them. The next three on this page are going to be life safety devices. Carbon monoxide detector is just that. It does have built-in decimal sounder for it. It does have a 10-year lifespan from the date of manufacturing. So that gives not only you, but the end user quite a bit of time before they have to worry about replacing those devices. Next to that, we have the smoke, heat, and freeze. This one device will do all three of those functions simultaneously with that one device if it is programmed to do that. Keep in mind that if you're installing monitored smokes, obviously they're going to have to meet whatever fire code for the state that you are in. Normally you're looking at probably anywhere between 4 and 12 actual monitored smokes when you install them. Sometimes that can be a little pricey. So we also created a secondary way to monitor fire, which is the last device on this page, which is the firefighter. Firefighter works with standard builder smokes that are installed. You can place this device next to any working builder smoke. And when they go off, it's going to hear that pitch and it will send a signal to the monitoring center to let them know that device has gone off. So gives you some options there, just depending on what the customer needs, what their budget may be for their security system. We wanted to make sure you had some options. The next page is going to show you secondary devices that you may or may not need, depending on what the customer is after. The top two on the left are single function devices. Panic is a panic. You press the panic and it's going to dispatch EMS for you. Next to that, you have a fall detection pendant. It does have water resistance, so it can be taken in the shower. And then it also has one other feature that in the very center of it, if by chance somebody has fallen and they need assistance, they can press that button and it will send EMS services for them. The next two on the top are going to be probably very unique situations when you use them. You have the stove and grill guard, which you will add either to an indoor or an outdoor stove or grill. And what it does is our sensors go under the knob and it is going to look for a 20-degree turn to let you know that that device is on. End user can decide at what point they get a notification. So if they normally know they cook for about an hour, they're going to get that notification at 61 minutes. So that's a nice feature for them that they can make sure that they don't, leave a stove on, a grill on, things like that. It is also weather resistant, so you can use them outside without any problems. The last one on the top is going to be the gun motion detector. Within this device, it is a 3-digit combination trigger guard, and it has a motion sensor in it that will send a notification to let you know that weapon has been moved. A lot of the times you're going to see it in glass display cases or somebody who has it mounted up on a wall. typically this is not going to be your emergency weapon that you're going to keep on the bedstand. So just keep that in mind whenever, if somebody asks about it, what their use is going to be. All right, devices on the bottom. You have the outdoor wireless contact. It is very robust. It is going to take anything from Texas heat, Colorado cold. It is designed to be out in weather conditions. A lot of these you'll see on gates, sheds, barns, anything like that. It will, take up to a certain amount of water. This particular device, I know I have submerged in a bucket of water for 45 minutes and it still worked. I didn't have enough time to test it longer than that, but that's still a pretty good, gauge for you as to how much water it can take if you're placing it somewhere and it rains. The next two devices we're going to talk about are going to be flood and temperature and water leak. The flood and temperature sensor that is wired is going to be looking for standing water for at least 3 minutes. Typically, when you see this device installed, it's either going to be in a basement that has a drain, small commercial coolers. Say if you are at a Wendy's and they have a cooler and it has a drain in the middle, they are knowing that that water is going to be flowing constantly. They get more concerned when it stops flowing because then they could have a flooding problem. So that's the use for that device. So when you're looking at an environment, just make sure that you are finding out what they want to protect and why. If by chance they're more worried about a single drop of water, we also have a device for that. So the water leak detection device that is next to that, a single drop of water will affect it. And actually, it's any type of liquid. So if they have any kind of liquid that they are concerned, whether it may leak or if there's, it can go under sinks, it can go in AC pans, hot water heaters, anything like that. It is not a mounted device. So if they need to move it around, they can move it around. There's 3 prongs on the bottom that if any 2 of them come in contact with a liquid, the device will send a notification. And then the very top of it, you'll notice that it is kind of designed that it has a groove in the center. And that is so that any drop of water will come down in there and it will hit that and it will send a notification as well. You will notice there is an indoor repeater on here. This one is currently discontinued, but there is a new one that is going to be in the market in probably about 45 days. So I will show you that here in just a moment. Any questions before I go to the last set of sensors?
No
Right.
questions, Tracy.
Okay. Thank you. These are your last set of sensors. This is what an actual key fob looks like if you haven't seen one. Next to that, you have takeover modules. The takeover module will let you convert any hardwire zone up to 8 in each takeover module and convert them into wireless zones. So if you have a home that has already been pre-wired and they don't want to lose any coverage, you do have an option that you can take this over. The only thing that you cannot use the takeover module for is life safety devices. Because those have a certain level of requirement, you cannot take them over based off the city's code, whether it's a fire device, it could be carbon monoxide detector, any of those, that's what's considered a life safety device. If you happen to use a takeover module, we do have a takeover enclosure that keeps everything nice and tidy. You can stack up to 3 different takeover modules in there and the power supply. It's a plastic case. It's just for aesthetics, depending on what your end user is expecting. Then on the bottom, you'll see the Edge remote keypad. As we discussed, it looks exactly like the primary panel. And then next to it, you have a pad 1. It is a very standard keypad. It arms, disarms, and it has panics on it. A lot of the times when I see these, they'll be in like rental properties where the owner may have the actual Edge somewhere else and they have a duplex that they're renting out, they actually will install the basic keypad so that that way the renter doesn't have access to all the main programming. So if you have different situations, just let us know. We'll happy to help. The other thing I want to show you real quick is, these are probably some of the most common Z-Wave products that we sell. You have the garage door controller, you have thermostats, obviously you have different wall switches, and then you also have the plug-in modules. Probably the other most common Z-Wave device you're going to see in the industry is door locks. We ourselves don't sell them, but we are compatible with the three primary ones that are on the market right now. So if you have any questions about those, let me know. There is a list on our 2GIG website that will give you a compatibility list. Let's see. The firmware update, probably the only thing that I want to make sure you know about that is we launched it a year ago, March. What that did is it gave us the ability to add the long range sensors. You can add up to 64 of those on the edge panel. And then we are now compatible with Control 4. It also let the installers know with the long range sensors, it gives them battery life as well as signal strength so that if they're testing them, they know exactly what their best installation is so that that way they have the perfect range. And then real quickly, I will just go over the long range sensors. You'll notice they look a little bit different. They do have a range up to 1.2 miles in open line of sight. In standard application, they are about 900 feet. So that gives you a good amount of distance. With the contact, we did add an extra little feature that it will support up to a 1/2 inch gap before it will show the devices open. With certain places where the ground shifts, things like that, it gives them that ability to help minimize any kind of false alarms because there's wiggle room in the actual door frame. Below that, you're going to see the outdoor contact. We did add an indicator light on the long range just because typically those are going to be so much further away. It was a request that we had so that people knew the device was active. The last three that I'm going to show you are going to be the glass break, which you'll notice is now up to a 25-foot detection, where the standard is 20-foot detection. So it gave you a little bit extra range. Next to that, you have the smoke, heat, and freeze. It is set up that it has a 10-year lifespan. And with the long range smoke detectors, if one goes, they all go. What that means is if one sounds, then they will all make a sound in the house the same way that standard builder smokes do. Thought that was a really added bonus, especially when you're looking at multi-level homes, anything like that, where time is of the essence. The last device I'm going to talk about is going to be the long range motion detector. It does go up now to an 85-pound PetaMune. And then the range on this one is going to be a 30 by 50. So the standard is up to 55 and it does a 50 by 50. And then the long range is 85-pound PetaMune and it's a 30 by 50 range. So just real quick, couple of pictures just to show you in real time. These are some of the tests that we did. You'll notice that there's green dots. That is where he took one of the DW10 sensors and actually opened and closed it from where his panel is in the very top center. So you'll notice, for me, I'm a visual person, so I appreciate when they actually show us exactly where they took things. He did have his panel in the basement in his townhome. So I was pretty impressed by the range that he got on that one. The other one I'm going to show you is from a farm that was up in Utah. Customer actually took the panel in their main home, and then you have an outdoor contact that we tested. It went through the detached garage, the shed, and then went all the way out to his shop. So you'll notice that's a pretty good distance, went through multiple things. And if you ever need any of these images, just let me know and I'm happy to share those. And the last one I'll show you is a commercial environment that we tested the long range sensor in. You'll notice it actually went all the way through their parking lot. The device where we stopped was behind a metal 18-wheeler trailer. So that'll show you what all it can go through, distance it can work in. Any questions about the long range sensors? Okay.
Well, they asked me about the distance, but it depends
Mhm.
of every construction, walls or trees that can be in the area, right?
Right. Standard distance on the long range is if it's open line of sight, it's going to be 1.2 miles, but in standard application, they will normally go up to 900 feet. So that still gives you pretty good distance depending on what your situation is. The only thing I would be concerned about with any type of long range sensor, regardless of who the manufacturer is, large commercial mirrors tend to have aluminum backing in them. And then if you have large commercial grade appliances, refrigerators, stoves, anything like that, because of what they're made with, some of the material in them can cause the signal to bounce. So those would be the only two situations that I'd really be cautious about with any kind of long range sensor. All right, these are going to be the new devices that are coming out. This is going to be the 345S as in switch. What these will do is they are going to eventually replace the standard 345 and the encrypted 345. Right now, as a distributor, there's two different product codes. This new device will actually do either or. So you will only have to carry one device and have both options. And you will notice in this that the repeater is back for the 345. And here is a list. There's about 14 of them that are going to be replaced, and these should be coming out in September with the new panel. Best part too is these are all backwards compatible. So any panels that are already in the field, these will work with those. They don't have to trade out the panels. And this is actually your new GC Touch panel that is going to be coming out. Eventually, it will replace the GC2. You're going to notice that this one is a 7-inch touchscreen. It'll do 100 zones, and it will take up to 64 user codes. The other thing that we added to this one is the GC Touch panel is also going to be compatible with the Alarm.com doorbell camera. And it will have a built-in cell card and it will be dual path communication. And again, it will be backwards compatible with any of the sensors that are currently in the field. The only thing this one will not do is it will not take the E+ long range sensors, but it will take any of the 345 and it will take the Honeywell 5800 series. And this is actually a picture of real size of what the keypad, just so you have kind of a point of reference. You'll notice it is going to be a much sleeker design than what the current GC2 is. Current GC2 is a little thick. This one is considerably thinner. It will also fit in a laser printer if the end user wants it to be branded. So you have that option as well. Any questions before I give you a couple resources?
Not right now, Tracy.
Okay. I'm going to show you, this is my contact information. You can scan the QR code if you like, and it will download all of my information so you have it, so you can reach out with any questions. And I'll give you just a moment for that. And then the most important thing, I am going to give you QR and information for our tech support team. Our tech support team works in California. They work Monday through Saturday. It is not third party. They are actually 2 gig employees. So I would make sure definitely that you have this, that you can share it with any of your dealers. biggest thing they need to know, if they need any type of RMA for a return, it would have to come from our tech support team. It is always best that they are on site when they're trying to get an RMA because they may need to troubleshoot some items with the team before they can get an RMA. And if there are no other questions, then I am done with my presentation and I will be available if you need anything.
Well, to be honest, Tracy, the information was very clear. Uh, I think that's why we don't have more questions right now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I appreciate all of your time. And if something comes up and there's anything you need, please reach out to me and I am happy to help any way I can.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you so much for your time. And to all of our customers, thank you for taking 1 hour of your time today. So the only thing that I can say is have a nice day. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate everybody's time. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.